Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another Canadian Soldier Reacts video, and today we're looking at what Air Force boot camp instructors go through in training. Just a quick point on this. In Canada, or at least in the infantry, or at least in the RCR in Canada, all of your instructor training, with the exception of small arms instructor, but all of your drill instructor training and your command ability training and all of that is all done in your 6A course. And your 6A is, or at least when I was in, your 6A was what qualified you to be a master corporal or even a sergeant. Although in order to get your sergeant, you also had to then take another small arms instructor's course, which is different. But basically everything that you need in order to be qualified to train and lead troops happens in that 6A. So every master corporal and above is qualified to do this. Having said that, let's take a look at what the US Air Force does.
You're telling me things I already know. Why don't you actually do your job and actually choose to represent?
Okay, hold on just a second. So I'm going to guess that this guy just lied to him or something. Because he's screaming at the guy right now. And you can hear his throat tightening up when he does that. So he's not projecting from the diaphragm. This is actually a how to be heard on the battlefield. Is actually a class that I used to teach back in Canada. One of the many, actually, and he sounds really angry. You can do this without sounding angry. When you start, it sounds like he's losing it. And when you start to sound like you're losing it, either one of two things is happening. Either this guy has done something that he probably needs to be charged for, or you're starting to lose credibility. So you got to be careful with how and when you do that kind of thing.
Me the way you're supposed to! Go away!
And this is another thing. I've seen this a bunch of times. They're bouncing as they do this. Again, that's another sign to me that they're losing it. You retain a lot more of your authority. You can yell. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can be loud at them and you can call them every name in the book, but you start to lose a lot of your credibility when you start to lose control of yourself.
Four of these Air Force military training instructors can do this.
Yeah, he just sounds mad. And I mean, again, unless somebody's done something really wrong there, it's just a chow line. Like, move it. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna project like I would have, because I'll blow out the speakers, but you can be loud and you can be on them without sounding angry.
They must first do this. They're practicing what's called the command voice. And once they master it, they'll be able to lead a flight of Air Force recruits.
And we'll use it specifically as a way to grab the trainee's attention and to notify him that it's time to move in whatever direction that is. And so that way we can communicate with the entire flight at once.
If you're not giving...
So this is interesting. So as far as the voice goes, the voice is not a leadership thing in Canada. The voice is, or at least in the infantry, like I said, is how to be heard on the battlefield. When you're in a section or a platoon out on the battlefield and you're running, up, he sees me down, dash down, crawl, sights, observe, fire, all of this stuff. And there's weapons going off and explosions going off. And you've got 10 men in between you and your section commander or your section 2 IC. you need to be able to be heard. So we teach every soldier how to do that, because if you're doing it, if you're doing it through your throat, which that's the natural way for most people to do it, is they'll tense up their throat, and they'll try to project that way, and it's absolutely the wrong way to do it. But all soldiers get taught that, the voice, the projection, not just instructors.
Specific clear directions, then the task is not going to get done, or is going to get done in a way that it's not supposed to be.
Forward, hit, cut, tap, right, forward.
Military training instructors, or MTIs, are the equivalent of Marine drill instructors or Army drill
Yeah, another guy, he just sounded like he was angry.
sergeants.
Command at ease, the soldier may move. However,
And while they're
At the command of at ease, a soldier may move. That's another difference. So if you're standing at attention, obviously, attention I think is the same, right? Heels together, arms by your sides, head and shoulders held high straight to the front. When you're at ease in Canada, the feet are shoulder width apart, your hands are behind your back, interlaced in like this kind of a pattern, and you're still not moving. It's not until you're given the stand easy command. So at the stand easy command, then your hands are allowed to come out from behind. You're allowed to move around a little bit. But in general, I mean, unless you're stood easy and the commander, the whoever is in charge of you, walks away, if that happens, there might be a little bit of talking in the ranks. But oftentimes you're stood easy, and even though you're allowed to relax and move a little bit, generally there's still no talking in the ranks.
There are similarities. MTIs have their own unique methods and philosophies when it comes to training new recruits.
Left, face, left.
We spent 4 days at Lackland.
Interesting. What he's doing there, that's a cadence essentially. And every troop knows it. Like by the time you get to this stage, I'm assuming it's sergeants and above here. For us, that would be master corporals and above. Or at least, like I said, it's done on the 6A, so that's where they're training you to be a leader, the equivalent of a sergeant in the United States, in the Air Force, whatever it is. That cadence has been drilled into every single, or at least everyone in my battalion and in my trade, the infantry in Canada. And it was a cadence of 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Every drill movement that we did, every single drill movement was 1, 2, 3, 1. And everybody knew that long before they got there. And then on the 6A, then you're learning how to teach that to other people, but you knew it. It was ingrained into you long before you got there.
Air Force Base, observing future military training instructors during their 8.5-week course as they learn to lead new recruits in drill and train them to meet the Air Force's physical requirements.
That's interesting. So there's a couple of things that they're doing. They're doing that harch thing. We don't really do that in Canada. We say march. And it looks like when they're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, they're putting a P on the end of it, which is really weird to me. We just called out the cadence. We call 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes. Most of the time it'd be left, right, left, right, left, right, left. That kind of a thing. And then we do, left face, left turn, right turn, left wheel, right wheel, things of that nature. The P thing and the harsh thing is not something they do in Canada.
Requirements, but it all starts with learning how to use their voice.
Side down, side down, side down.
except for my God,
Okay, that was good. I liked what he did.
element leader, storm chief. If you're calling the training, produce a tactical report now.
She's good too. Hold on. All right, we're back. So those last two, those were good voices. I like those.
Forward. Hurt.
Okay, hold on just a second. Look at him there. I'm just going to back it up. One.
Left.
So that's the guy there. Who's that right there? He's the same guy.
Forward. Hurt.
That's funny.
But learning how to lead drill requires its own training.
Left flank. Hurt!
I would say it's more challenging than it is exhausting. It's just constantly focusing on being precise with every single movement you make.
MTI students
I think he's, that's interesting. He's wearing, oh no, I don't know what that is. I thought that was wings for a second. I don't know what that is. If anybody knows what badge that is, let me know down in the comments.
Constantly focusing on being precise with every single movement you make.
MTI students spend 85 hours practicing the movements, relearning how to march in step and make precise turns on command.
That carries throughout when you're doing left face, right face, left flank, collar movements. You got to understand where your head needs to be, where your arms got to be.
Learning drill at basic training, it was all new, it was foreign. However, as I learned those movements, all I had to do was apply. There's a huge difference between learning and applying versus learning, applying, and teaching. So now I have to come back, break down each one of those movements.
Yeah, I do have to say breaking down some of the movements was different. Some of them were easy, but some of them were really hard. Like teaching people how to stand at attention and breaking that down in a proper military manner was harder than you might think it was.
Into individual steps and now share that and teach these trainees how to actually perform the movements.
We're just going to be out here in this.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back again for a second. Watch this turn.
Share that and teach these trainees.
So the legs there, when they turn, in Canada does something very, very different here. First of all, everything is on the cadence 1, 2, 3, 1. And every time you're executing a drill movement, you are saying it in the back of your head. 1, 2, 3, 1. Or sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, 1. Or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You know, things of that nature. But the other thing is, once you've executed the first part of the movement, you've done your right turn and your feet are apart. So you do the turn. It's 1, and then you wait for 2, 3, and then that back leg comes up so that your knee and hip are parallel, or the top of your leg is parallel with the ground, and then you drive that foot down beside the other foot as hard as you can. And in fact, there's a saying, at least in my unit, it was pick it up 6, drive it down 12. So you pick your foot up 6 inches and then you drive it down 12 inches, and you're always going for the loudest possible bang that you can. And everyone in the platoon has to be doing it on exactly the same cadence.
How to actually perform the movements.
We're just going to be out here on this pad practicing until 0900.
This is the go command or the execution command.
This student is in week 6 of training. And this is a military training instructor, who is responsible for evaluating his ability to teach the left flank, which is a turn to the left when marching in formation.
Swing, 24-inch step.
We focus on their ability to actually perform it and to be able to break it down.
That's a left turn. To the left, yeah, that's a left turn. And again, so it's not done quite on the same cadence as the 1, 2, 3, 1 you would do with stationary drill. But yeah, you still pick the foot up 6 and drive it down 12. Whereas he did some sort of little bunny hop there. That's a little weird to me.
Step by step, how to effectively communicate the instructional portions of the lesson while also performing it.
Training right here. What do you think?
Yeah, sometimes that's a lot harder
Students
than
are
you would
evaluated
think.
on their ability to follow the Air Force teaching format, which includes how they present information.
Some of it's
and
really
how
easy,
they ask
but some of
questions.
it's
I
different.
have my cover. I do not have my cover again. Do I have any questions over anything that I just went over?
Biggest issue, I would say, with today's lesson.
So in Canada, we use what's called an EDI methodology. Explain, demonstrate, imitate. So when you bring them up and you're about to teach them, the first thing that you do is explain the move that you're about to do, you're about to teach them. Then you demonstrate for them what you want them to do, and then you get them to imitate you. I don't know. We just think that it works well.
Was your questioning techniques? It was a lot of, do you have any questions? Are there any questions? You did that 7 times.
All MTIs across any squadron, they're using that standardized teaching format is important so that any trainee, when they graduate from here, they leave with the same knowledge, regardless of what squadron they were assigned to during their time here.
So all your transitions were seamless, tied it all back into your steps, like your personalization is on point.
Before they graduate from MTI school, these students will teach drill to a flight of recruits under the supervision of a certified military training instructor in the final phase of their training, known as Technical Qualifications, or TQ.
Step! You also need to suspend
So TQ is something that we use in Canada. TQ2, TQ3, TQ4. I guess some people technically have a TQ5, and then TQ6 or 6A and 6B. That's cool.
So bring those hands back to your side.
Change step, arch, right away, and then get cadence.
Change step, arch.
It is a slight pause. You are not stopping.
At the end of the day, we are realistically training not just our replacements, but our upgrade.
Hut. This.
Yeah, so Canada is very different.
I think what drives the physical aspect of being a military training instructor is you are constantly on the move.
Okay, so obviously this is the difference between infantry and Air Force. I mean, that's going to happen, but wow.
You're going to be constantly marching all over base, taking your trainees to various appointments.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
And then also in the mornings during PT, you're going to be out there not just showing them how to do PT, you're going to be performing PT and setting that example for them.
Every morning, MTI students perform PT, or physical training, as if they are commanding a flight of recruits. Students take turns leading PT from a distance, where they practice the lessons learned in their command voice training, projecting their voice across the drill pad to call out the exercises.
Next exercise is in and out. Session of exercise right up.
He's doing that sing-song thing.
And call cadence.
3, 1,
Interesting they put him back so far.
Another student observes from the sidelines and corrects their classmates as if they are recruits.
Arms are fully extended, back straight.
Hips out of the air.
So PT is set up that way for the MTI school, so that way it gives the students an opportunity to truly understand how to be able to lead organized PT, and so that way they know.
I gotta say, these guys are a lot more relaxed than we were, or our instructors when we were taking our course were. That's wow.
Understand what are the key points for each part before they step out to the line squadron. They're standing in front of 200, 600, 800 trainees and leading them in organized PT.
Military training instructors must pass a physical assessment outlined by the Air Force based on age and gender. To get into the training course, students must be recommended by their leadership and pass a psychological evaluation. Military training instructors receive a special duty pay of $450.
So, let me just back it up a second here.
Military training instructors receive a special duty pay of must be recommended by their leadership and pass a psychological evaluation.
So, in Canada, that's called a right dress. I guess they're doing a left dress, but generally it would be a right dress. Yeah, it would be. Generally, it's the opposite way. Sometimes we did it that way, but very rarely. It's a very, very precise drill movement, and it's on that cadence that I was telling you about before. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, move. I don't know. I don't know if it's the American military as a whole or if it's just the Air Force. It might just be the Air Force thing because I know that the Air Force is far more relaxed than the infantry is. But this is very relaxed.
Military training instructors receive a special duty pay of $450 per month on top of their base salary.
Oh, that's a lot, actually.
The highest.
$450 a month. That's
Basic military training, or B&T, also includes teaching recruits how to meticulously make a bed and fold clothes.
Pretty good. It can be a little bit tighter.
And again, these MTI students...
We're not exactly taught that as much as expected to get it done. We got training in how to do it as recruits, but as instructors, they just expected us to know this.
Students are expected to perform these tasks to perfection.
For some of these students, they haven't potentially made a bed since they were last at BMT.
In week 5 of their training, students practice making beds, rolling shirts, and other dormitory procedures to the Air Force standards. And they inspect each other's work, practicing the corrections they will be giving recruits in just a few months.
Pick it up, you kind of want it to snap back a little bit. See the difference?
So we teach them the current standards, and then we evaluate them on their ability to organize those items. And then immediately following that, we evaluate them on their ability to teach those standards.
So the lesson we're going to be going over today is the end of bed display.
They have exact words they need to say, so the trainees know the exact details of what these lessons consist of.
Interesting.
The level of corrections that we're looking for with the students teaching this evaluation, is this their overall stage presence?
Overall stage presence, that's interesting. I don't remember ever having a course on how to teach bed making, but we were expected to teach that, or proper layout. This is another area where we were just given the layout, we were given the dimensions of everything, and we were just expected to get it done. I think if there's any Canadians who remember, put it down in the comments, because I don't ever remember taking a course on how to teach this.
How comfortable they are with teaching this lesson, how comfortable they are with the actual lesson plans themselves.
To ensure it is draped evenly, we can pinch at the bottom to ensure that they're flush. Give it a little tug.
These instructors are kind of talking to the wall, talking to their water bottle in some instances, but they are going by the format. This is essentially the dry runs that they're running here at MTIS. Where they actually get to the line and then figure out how to master what we're teaching here at MTIS.
If I look down at this shoe from the top, I should be able to see any of your shoelaces. Do you see your shoelaces?
Yes, Sergeant.
In their final phase.
Yeah, and the way he's talking right now, again, more relaxed than we would be.
Of training, they will be responsible for instructing a flight of recruits on the dorm lessons they learned at MTI school.
It is important for us to learn how to teach this to trainees because they need to know our standards and they need to learn as well to practice their attention to detail.
The last 60 seconds, there's about easily probably 90 seconds. Well, honestly though, do you think trainees are probably gonna do the same thing? Whether it's you loading missiles, loading bombs, whatever the case may be, the attention to detail of you putting the correct amount into everything.
Yeah, well, that actually is kind of important. Attention to detail when you're loading missiles or bombs. Yeah, I would call that very important.
Is the importance that we are teaching here at BMT. At this time, Captain Cole and Senior Master Sergeant Morrell will present the class their graduation certificates.
This class is graduating from the basic MTI training, but they won't receive their campaign cover until they've completed the final phase of training.
So upon graduating from MTIS, we'll have 2 weeks of cadre training where we actually...
Yeah, this is something that also isn't done in Canada. They have those special, they call them covers. We just generally called them by whatever it was that they were, beret, field cap, a forage cap, whatever. But we didn't really have any special designation for, and we don't call them drill instructors, we call them marching NCOs. There was nothing special. The marching NCO was just the guy in charge, and he or she made sure you knew who he or she was, and there was no mistake in it.
We spend some time with the standard eval section here at MTIS. After spending 2 weeks with them, we'll actually go out to our line squadrons where we'll begin the TQ process, where we'll actually be on the line with a trainer getting qualified to become a fully certified instructor.
I found that I actually have a passion for teaching, which I didn't really know that before. It's really taught me more about myself. It's taught me a lot about my strengths and the things that I need to work on as an MTI.
Hot top tip.
Okay. So yeah, I think the biggest thing, well, obviously there's some cultural differences there, some little quirks back and forth, and where this stuff gets taught is reasonably different in Canada. There's also a bunch of differences between Air Force and infantry, obviously. I don't think anyone would dispute that. We were much more rigid. So the 6A course, the course that taught us all of this and other things, was what was known in the Canadian Forces as a pressure course. So you were learning to be a leader. You were several years in battalion, most likely at that point, but you were treated like a raw recruit again, and you were put under the same kinds of pressures that recruits would be put under. So it was a very, very difficult course for us, but in the end, I think it turned out excellent leaders and excellent instructors. So anyway, that's it for today. This was a Canadian soldier reacting to what Air Force boot camp instructors go through for training. So if you liked the video, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.